Do you think he might be Alan Jackson's kid? I mean, can we go ahead and spread this rumor a little bit more?
Man, I ain't touching that at all now.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, because I know you've probably toured around with Alan Jackson too. I mean, they look alike. They look like they could be.
Man, I don't know about that. Now, I'd say he's more. If I had to pick it, I'd say he's more either Ricky Skaggs' kid or Keith Whitley's kid. That's the sound, and I'm going by the sounds. I'm going by the sounds. And now he picks like Steve Wariner or Brad Paisley or somebody like that. But
I'll go with that. You know what? We're going to spread this rumor. I like
there's a lot of rumors.
But actually, he grew up on a dairy farm in Washington and had a family bluegrass band, and so he's from way out there in the Northwest.
Hey, y'all, I'm Amber Parker.
I'm Brian Taylor.
And this is the Grizzly Rose Backstage Pass podcast. And today we're talking to Tracy Byrd.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for being here.
How are you doing,
Glad
Tracy?
to be here. I'm doing fine. How are y'all?
Good. So this is probably going to make you feel a little older than we are, and I get that because.
Well, I am a little older than you.
No. Well, we don't have to point that out anymore. But the point is, that what we're going to talk about is going to make us feel very young and stupid, and you as an older wise man. So back in 1992 is when I first became a Tracy Byrd fan. When I first heard "Someone to Give My Love To," and I didn't realize that was actually your second single.
Yes. First single was a song that I wrote called "That's the Thing About a Memory," and it didn't even crack the top 40.
see,
and I thought it was a really good song, but
in my world, like "Someone to Give My Love To," I thought that was the number one song too, and it wasn't.
Oh no, it was top 20, but it sold a bunch of records for us. The album came out off of that single, and it was a bigger hit than the chart said, I believe, because it really moved a whole lot of records and got us rolling, got us excited. And then the third single was "Holding Heaven," and that was a number one.
Yeah, and I didn't also realize that "Someone to Give My Love To" was a Johnny Paycheck song, because in my world at 12 years old, I thought that was a Tracy Byrd song.
Yeah, I mean, well, when songs are, I mean, if a song, unless it's just like a standard or something, a song goes, a 30-year life or so. Well, by that time, to most ears, it is going to be a new song.
You need to wake up. But not just any cup of coffee is going to do it. You need Hillbilly House Brew. Trust me. With those beautiful notes of caramel and also notes of country music, you'll thank us. Get yours now at hillbillylive.com/shop.
Oh, I'll be damned. You really can taste the notes of caramel and country music.
Yeah. And that's why I've had a few covers that did real well. 2 Paycheck covers, that did real well. "Someone to Give My Love To" and "Don't Take Her, She's All I've Got." We covered both of those and had great success with them.
So the first Tracy Byrd song I remember is "Watermelon Crawl."
Yeah, so that was on the second record, second album. Yeah.
So
and that is where, I mean, we had that number one on the first record, and we had "Someone to Give My Love To," which was a big song for us. But most people really started knowing who I was on that second album, because that was, we had "Lifestyles Are Not So Rich and Famous," we had "The First Step," and then we had "Watermelon Crawl," and then we had "Keeper of the Stars," all off of that record. So that was the bigger
of the 90s.
It was, and still it's pretty big. It's pretty crazy. It's had a long life.
I saw you in Denver. You were playing with Blake Shelton a few years back, and you came out and actually did some acoustic songs with him. And I remember when you got to that song "Keeper of the Stars," but Blake was a little bit upset because you kind of stole the crowd that night.
Well, yeah, and we hammed that up a little bit more every night. I think we did 17, 18 shows, and so when we noticed how the crowd reacted to that song, so then we really made it kind of a focal point of the deal, and just us being us, it just got worse or better, however you want to look at it, every night.
Well, and let's be real. I mean, probably Blake Shelton was jealous because, I mean, you had probably better music than his. So, I mean, let's be
Well,
real.
yeah, that's the kind of stuff we like to say, but me and him and Trace, poor Martina, she was just stuck out there with three idiots, and
Yeah,
she would
was
just
like
sit
the
across from
professional
us and
one.
just look and shake her head. She just never said anything, and we'd go on and on for 20, 30 minutes, with our stuff. But that was fun tour.
So basically, she was like a disappointed mother.
That's exactly what she was. She was a
was
very
that look.
disappointed mother. Very disappointed.
Oh, someone's always got to be that person, though, I think.
Yeah, well,
Disappointed mother.
in that group, we needed somebody with, a level head and some common sense, or we'd have ended up in trouble every night for sure.
I know what that's like. I was right around the age when 12 Rounds with Jose Cuervo came out, we turned it into a drinking game. I didn't go the 12 rounds with Jose, but we made this really gross punch. And I would go 12 rounds with that. It was pretty dangerous. Did you guys?
Well, you went two more than you needed to because it's 10 rounds with Jose Cuervo. So
because you lose count. You lose count.
So it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for you.
That's too funny. God bless you.
I hope you're sober now.
I am. I got water today. It's
all right. Good.
So I want to go back to before you really hit it, because I remember growing up in South Texas. I grew up in Victoria, Texas.
Oh, did you? All right.
Yeah, I remember one of the radio guys back then talked about how you and Mark Chestnut and Clay Walker kind of grew up in the same area. And I remember hearing one time that y'all played in the same band or something. Is that true?
Mark and I did. Clay didn't. But Clay and I are both from a little town just outside of Beaumont here, called Vidor, Texas, and that's where we both graduated from high school. He was in my sister's class, a few years younger than me. And then Mark and I started listening to Mark was, playing a place called Cutters here locally, and played 4 nights a week at this place called Cutters, and so me being an aspiring singer, and Mark was just so good then and still so good now.
Yeah.
And so I was out there all the time listening to him when I wasn't working somewhere else, and so then I started setting in with him a little bit. Well, then when he got his deal with MCA, they needed somebody to come into the club and start playing with him so that he could go to Nashville and do the work he needed to do, pre-production and cutting the record and all that stuff before, they got on the road. And so they offered me that gig. And so I started playing with his band, left the band I had and started playing with his band and him. So that's when we were together, and then he got, got all this stuff done and headed out on the road, and I put another band together and I took over there at Cutters when he left. And then I ended up getting a deal on MCA also. So
basically playing at Cutters was a good way to get a record deal back in that day.
Well, it was, it seems like that was it, but really I had to go to Nashville to get a deal. I ended up going to Nashville and doing a showcase, and I made several trips to Nashville, and then got the deal. They actually did come down to Cutters to see me again, a couple of different labels after they'd seen me in Nashville, and that's the way I got the deal. I don't think it hurt at all that I was there and that Chestnut had just got a deal, but I ended up signing with the same label, but there was three labels in the game once we got going, and so it was back and forth between the three until we decided that MCA was the best place for us.
I mean, MCA had everybody great. George Strait, Mark, and you. I mean, shit.
Yeah. Well, the first time I went to Nashville, they had signed Mark and they had just signed Marty Brown. I don't know if y'all remember Marty.
I do remember Marty.
He actually wrote "I'm from the Country," which I had a
I
big
didn't
hit on.
realize that.
Yeah. But so I went to Nashville and before I did the showcase, and I went in there, and they're like, "Well, we really don't need any more traditional acts. We just signed Mark Chestnut and Marty Brown, and Roger Springer was another guy they had just signed in. And they said, we just really don't need any more traditional acts." I said, okay.
What does Nashville know? I mean, as a country music fan,
yeah,
I love the traditional country music.
Yeah. Well, this was 1991. Anyway, they didn't, said they didn't need anybody. And then a lower level A&R guy named Jeff Gordon came out. He just happened to come out to the showcase, and he really loved our showcase. And we just did like a little 35-minute show, but he loved it. And the next morning we get a call from Tony Brown, VP of MCA at the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, a guy of ours come in this morning and said, man, that you blew him away yesterday. And would you mind coming in and visiting with us today and singing some songs for us, just acoustic?" And I said, "No, let's do it." And that's how we got that's how their interest came about. And then Capitol and CBS did the same thing. And so that's kind of how that all went down. And we ended up with MCA.
So it's almost like doing job interviews. You got to find like a few different companies and then pin them against each other and tell them, "Hey, well, they're offering me this, so what can you do for me?"
Well, you would that's what you hope for. I never dreamed that would be where we would end up, but it was
a good problem to have.
Yeah, it was. And so we were pretty tickled with that at the time. And of course, we had a great career at MCA, and then went on to RCA and had a great career there. And it's been a good run. Still having fun on the road, so it's great.
Back then, did you have to do the radio tour, kind of like the new artists do now, where you go from radio station to radio station to radio station to pitch yourself?
I did a radio tour for MCA, and then when I went to RCA, we did it all over again. So I've done 2 of those radio tours, and that's pretty grueling, man. I mean, it is pretty grueling. But I was young, so I didn't care. And
it's funny how you have to like win over the labels, and then you have to try to win over radio people.
Yeah, it's a job for sure. People don't see all of that part of it,
And nowadays it's so different. Like the music industry, it's like now you have to win over everybody on like TikToks and Instagram now.
Yeah, which I know nothing about. I'm so far behind on that game.
No one knows about it.
I mean, somebody my age. I mean, I'm 58 years old, and I'm not interested really in any of that. But man, it is the way to do it now. I mean,
and do you think like if you were like starting out today, I mean, would you be able to do it the same way?
Man, you don't hear of it happening the same way very much.
Yeah, because you don't hear like a lot of new artists. It seems like they get signed to labels. They don't have any experience playing on a stage, but they have.
Well, that's what I was about. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I've heard substantiated stories. I mean, I had to go find somebody and is this really what happened? Of labels giving incredible bonuses, signing bonuses to people that they've never heard sing live at all. Yeah. They sign them literally off of TikTok or whatever. And man, today with all the AI in recording and I mean, I don't know how you trust that these people are actually can sing like they can sing. And I think that's backfired a few times, on them. And but it's nothing like it used to be for sure. And but it is what it is, and it's not going away, and that's kind of the way it's going to be, I guess, for a long
don't get me
time.
Wrong, like I feel the digital world is helping young artists get recognized, but it's like I feel they're they're just not ready for the big stage yet at all.
Well, yes, some of them aren't, and some of them are. I mean, some of them jump right out there and take off and go do it, and that's that's really cool. There's some great folks that have come out of it. I mean, Zach Top, for instance. I mean, I
bless that kid too. He's a real deal.
Yeah. I somehow stumbled onto him 4 or 5 years ago on TikTok, and I was like, wow, man, this guy's really good. And I started telling friends about it like back then, and then just, I mean, it wasn't, but it still took a while for him. It really still took a while, because 2 years ago in Wyoming, he opened a show for me, and I was excited, I was, cause I really liked him. And they were in a van with a U-Haul trailer, and man, they rolled in there, and I said, now we're in Wyoming, and I said, well, where'd y'all play last night? He goes, oh man, we didn't have a show last night. And this was on a Friday night. And I said, where are y'all playing tomorrow night? And he goes, oh, we don't have a show tomorrow night.
Oh, so I said, so you just getting started.
I said, so y'all drove from Nashville to here, and you're going to play a show? And he goes, yeah. And then we're going to get up in the morning and drive back to Nashville.
Oh my God.
And I was like, and he went from, but then 2 years later now, I mean, he's absolutely on fire. I mean, and I'm so excited about him and Cody Johnson and all these traditional acts that are starting to really, really, see some progress and make some headway in the business. Cause it's, and I've always told people it cycles, man, it'll go away. I mean, it goes all the way back to the 60s where it would cycle, where there'd be pop sound in country back then, and the artists would ride that wave, and then it would come back around to steel guitars and fiddles and traditional country music. And I guess that's healthy for the business as a whole. But I feel that traditional twang coming back.
Oh, we need it. And I'm a country music junkie, and I love that sound. I love the fiddle. I love the steel guitar, because it's just what country music is about to me, and always will be. And Zach is definitely one of those guys. And I guess since we're talking about Zach, since you got a chance to really meet him and get to hang out with him, the internet said that he is Alan Jackson's kid. Do you think he might be Alan Jackson's kid? I mean, can we go ahead and spread this rumor a little bit more?
Man, I ain't touching that at all now.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, because I know you've probably toured around with Alan Jackson too. I mean, they look alike. They look like they could be.
Man, I don't know about that. Now, I'd say he's more. If I had to pick it, I'd say he's more either Ricky Skaggs' kid or Keith Whitley's kid. That's the sound, and I'm going by the sounds. I'm going by the sounds. And now he picks like Steve Warner or Brad Paisley or somebody like that. But
I'll go with that. You know what? We're going to spread this rumor. I like
there's a lot of rumors.
But actually, he grew up on a dairy farm in Washington and had a family bluegrass band, and so he's from way out there in the Northwest.
And I didn't even know people in Washington liked bluegrass music, but
I didn't either. I really didn't either. But that was their thing, man. That's where he learned to pick like that. Those bluegrass guys can pick.
And bluegrass pickers, man, they're top level shit.
They absolutely, really brother. They are strong. They always are.
So since this is the Grizzly Rose Backstage Pass podcast, we have to ask, what's it like to play the Grizzly Rose?
It's the best. I mean, it's literally in my top 5 places that I love to play, and it's been in the top 5 since I played there the first time.
When was the first time, by the way? Do you remember?
Probably, I don't know the exact date, but probably I would guess 1993 or 4. It had to be 93. It'd been a 93 probably.
Because I saw some old pictures back in the back offices, and I saw a picture from 94 with you and Scott and Lindy, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. I mean, yeah.
The
outfits were they were real.
Oh, that was the day of the Garth Brooks and Dunn shirts, with all the
and I had plenty of those in my t-shirt.
All the wild prints, yeah. I think those are coming back. By the way,
they are. The brush choppers are coming back too in a big way, which I'm impressed.
I knew I should have kept them all.
You should have. It'd be
Yeah,
worth a lot right now.
Again, it cycles back. It
Real
cycles back. I'm
vintage.
learning this stuff over my years too.
Yeah, you need to build a closet just to store clothes in, so that when they come back around, you know
You're
you're already
set.
you already
Yeah.
got them.
You just have to fit back in them.
That's right. Yeah, that's important too. That's important too.
Is there anything, as long as you've been playing shows, that you have to have at a show? You're like, I always need this at my show, that still stands today.
You know, like you talking about like backstage stuff,
yeah,
like
Backstage
on the
stuff
riders.
or on
Rider
the
kind of
stage
stuff.
On the
or-
riders.
well, there was a day when it was Miller Lite and Crown Royal, but those days are long gone. But that used to be the most important thing, and that's sad to say, but that was the most important thing when we'd pull into town. Okay, where's our beer? Where's our whiskey?
There you go.
But now there's none of that. I hadn't drank in 15 years, so there's
No
none of that
congrats.
now.
Good for you.
Yeah, and man, I mean, really, have promoters and places tell me all the time, man, are you sure that's all you want? I mean, people, they said, you're like super low maintenance for an artist. I said, well, all we need some, I do like Coke Zero, so I usually insist
There you
on my
go.
Coke Zero, but that's about it. That and water, and just feed us something that's halfway edible and healthy.
And everybody I've talked to that have worked with you have said the same thing. They said you're the easiest person to work with.
Well, we try to be. I don't see any reason to be any other way, but I know there's a lot of them out there that are the other way, that are really hard to deal with, because I hear the stories all the time.
I know it's funny, like growing up, you always said, you always told, be careful when you meet your heroes and stuff, because you're disappointed. But
Yeah.
I've met some, and I've been very pleased. Most people, in the country music industry,
Yeah,
they're
in
just
country
who they
music,
are.
in country music, you rarely get disappointed, but I have been, but it's rare. But in other genres, I've met a few people in other genres, and man,
It's different.
it's different. It's just different people, different raising, I think, just the way they are,
So if you could go back and do it all again, would you do it all again?
Yeah, I would. I'd do some things different, but I would definitely do it all again. Yeah, absolutely. But you can't do it all again.
I know.
That's
I know. You only got one shot, and you got to go for
it. And the wonderful thing about that is that scars and all, it's your life, it's your story, and it's nobody else's. So you live with what you got, and try to make the best of it and enjoy it, and I have.
And Amber found this really stupid question on the internet that says something about. No, I think it's stupid. It is a stupid question.
I was doing research for this interview, so I Googled Tracy Byrd. Start right there, right? And Google suggests questions based on what other people have Googled. And the top question was, why did Tracy Byrd quit?
Well, I did take a couple 2.5-year hiatus 15 years ago, and I quit drinking 15 years ago. Think about that. Okay. So that was one of the big things. I had lived this life to the fullest, you would say, and it had taken a toll on me, and it had taken a toll on my family, and I needed to stop. And I knew I needed to fix some things, and I knew that there's no way in the hustle and bustle of back then playing 150 shows a year that I was ever going to fix the things that were most important. And so I just said, this is it. I said, I'm just stopping. I didn't call it a retirement or anything. I didn't even talk about it. I just said, I'm done. End of this year, I'm done. End of 2009. I said, I got to work on me and my family, and your life can just consume you. Your career can consume you.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your career is your life. And that should never be the case, because careers are fleeting, stardom's fleeting, but the solid is your family and your loved ones and your friends. And man, I'd just been out there, at that point, I'd been out there, what, 16, 17 years, and I'd not stopped. I mean, literally not stopped. I was home half of December and half of January, and that was it. And I was gone the rest of the year, all year long. And my kids, my boys were still, my poor daughter, she's the one who took the brunt of it because she was the oldest, but then my boys were still young at that point. And, man, I'd never coached football. I'd never coached baseball. I'd barely been to enough games, and so I just stopped and worked on me and changed the way I was living and just enjoyed life for a while and tried to find some balance. And then I didn't know if I'd ever come back, honestly. I didn't know if I'd ever come back. And 2.5 years into it, or 2 years into it, first year was really, really strange because you have been going that hard, and so all of a sudden you're just boom, I'm home, and I said, I'm not talking to radio, I'm not doing interviews, I'm not doing anything except being a dad and working on my life and my husband, and my life and being a better husband, and so it was just like a just sudden stop. And so the first year was kind of weird. Then the second year, I was like, man, this is pretty nice.
You're like, I can never go back out on the road again. I enjoy this.
I was like, this is really, really great. This is what life should be. And I've been doing that. I've been wide open in the career since I was basically 17 years old. When I was 17, I said, this is what I'm doing, and so it was just, wide open. And then after a couple of years, me and my wife talked about it, and I was like, she goes, well, why don't you just go do some acoustic shows?
She wanted you out of the house.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Go do something.
Maybe so. She framed it as, I know you want to go sing, so go sing. But I think you're probably right. I think she just wanted me out of the house. But anyway, so that's why I kind of just started kind of tiptoeing back into it, and before I knew it, we were, working 70, 80 shows with the band, and it's been good. It's been perfect. But this year I was starting to get burned out again. And I knew it year before last. I was like, man, I'm starting to get burned again. And so last year I told my band and stuff, I said, look, we'll do, 85, 90 shows this year. I said, and then I'm cutting it in half. And I said, and I'm going to kind of slow down. Not going to quit, but I'm going to cut it, back considerably. And so that's what we're doing this year. And already it feels better, at this pace, to just do, I will probably do 50 shows this year, but a lot less than we did, 40 less than we did last year. So
when I saw you at the Grizzly this last time, I was talking to Scott, who owns the Grizzly, and we were talking about how you sound just as good as you did back then. Well,
I always hoped that my voice would do that. And it has, thank the Lord, it has. And I credit a lot of that to that, when I got off the road 15 years ago and getting healthy and stopping, that partying all the time and staying up all night. And it is. And it's really hard on your vocal cords. The older you get, it's really, really can take a toll on them. Because for me, just being in a crowd of people talking in a partying crowd, does more damage to my voice than singing for 2 hours. Because you're screaming and you're hollering over trying to have conversations with people, and so all of that, and no alcohol, that all of that stuff, I believe, really worked in my favor as far as preserving my voice and and even enhancing it in some instances, you know.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I've
No,
never been
thank
disappointed
you.
at a Tracy Byrd show. Never.
Well, I appreciate that. Hope you
See
never are.
See, that wasn't a dumb question. He had a great
Yeah.
answer, Brian. See?
Yep. Yeah, that was a really, really good question. Way to go, internet.
Thank you,
Way to
Google.
go. And I really
Thank you,
distrust the
Google.
internet sometimes. I really do. Because internet's made us look stupid many a times.
Or it was just us.
Probably just us. So what's coming up in 2025? Like any new music?
You know, we are going to do a record. We're going to do some old. I haven't got my list completely compiled yet, but I'm going to do a record at some point, hopefully in the next 3 months. But take the band in and do a record of just. My criteria is that the song has to be 40 years old or older.
Oh,
And so I'm gonna do a cover record of some of my favorite covers that are
I love this.
40
Awesome.
years old or over. And we're actually what kind of brought it about is there's a big festival down here called Two Step In.
Yeah,
and I played there
with it.
I played their first year, and they invited us back for the second year and last year, and we were already booked for that weekend. And but then they said, so they went ahead and got us on the books for this year. And the folks that put it on, they were like, "Man, would you be willing to do 2 shows that day?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do 2 shows." And they said, they said, "Man, people are always telling us how you're just like a songbook or a jukebox full of old country songs, that you know all these old country songs." I said, "Yeah, yes, I do." And they said, "Well, how about we do you do an afternoon show, like an hour show of just old country songs, and we call it T-Bird's Country Gold." And then they said, then that night you can do your regular show, because this place got 5 stages going. And so that's kind of what got I was like, wow, if we do that, I said, all right, I should just do a whole record and of these old covers that I love, and the ones we're getting together for this show. And so that's kind of how it all came about. And I haven't put anything out in a while.
Yeah.
And so I really need to do something and want to do something. And so I'm just going to do all these songs that I always wanted to do.
I'm surprised you haven't done that. I mean, what are some of your go-to like classic hits that you like to play?
Oh, like right now in the show, we're doing Devil Woman by Marty Robbins, of some of the older stuff. And we do some Hank Jr. and we do some obviously do Haggard and Jones, and then we'll probably, when I do this record, I'll probably end up spreading it out wide and doing, like, going back to like my high school years, in the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, and doing like some Gary Stewart and doing like some Earl Thomas Conley. Yeah, absolutely. I loved old Gary. We were friends, man. He was a nut. But oh God, yeah, he's crazy, man.
Could he drink you under the table?
Man, well, he had other vices other than drinking. He would drink a little bit, but
he lived it.
He lived it. He lived it, man. He lived it. But yeah, Gary Stewart, and then some artists, like I said, like Earl Thomas Conley, who was was never the the superstar of his era,
but should have been.
He should have been, but he left so many great songs. He had so many hits, and so some of that kind of stuff, and some John Anderson, because John's still around and so good, and was such a part. His career spanned so many years.
I know it's crazy to think, because he got started in like the 60s.
Yeah, late 60s, and then like his first run of hits were in the 70s, and those were great songs. Yeah, and then he ends up coming back in the 90s, with like a whole second career, and having all those hits with Straight Tequila Night and all the other stuff that he had out then.
I know my mom introduced me to a lot of John Anderson music back in the day.
Yeah, and John's just, man, he's just the best. I just love him to death. They broke the mold with old John for sure.
Amen to that. Amber, you got anything else?
I think that'll do it. Thank you so much, Tracy. We appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you, Amber. And, I'm kind of worried about you. Don't be doing 12 rounds with Jose Cuervo. Just stop at 10, just like everybody else, okay?
Like
She doesn't know how to count. I'm just going to put that out there. Counting and math is not her thing. So,
especially once I've gotten that high on the scale anyway.
Right.